Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 41 of Thessia, our Australia-inspired build. I hope you're having a wonderful day. In today's episode, I want to sort of do three different things. I want to get a Bunnings and a Hungry Jack's on the waterfront, I want to do a downtown plaza in some undeveloped space, and also bring some outer line suburbia in places where it's needed. And by the end of today's episode, Thessia's residents will be able to grab a burger, nib to the Bunnings, and have a bloody good weekend, might eh? Get started, shall we? So I think that's enough Aussie egg already for one episode, isn't it? But we're briefly back in Ascension for the start of today's episode because Bradders has made us another billboard, which is delicious. Ascension International Airport, where AI could take you anywhere. So big thanks to Bradders. Again, Bradders, Terry, Ben Cestes, Scope, everyone that's contributing these custom assets to the series. You're all the definition of a secret blend of herbs and spices. So thank you so much for continuing to make them. And I reckon we can get another one outside the aviation club, right? Seems like it'd be a good spot for one here, maybe. Is that like a perfect size for it? Isn't it? Look at that. Happy days. Wonderful. So, just great billboards from Bradders. Lots of love for him in the comments. However, today's episode is going to be a bit of a space filler, and we're going to start out with the old Waterfront Bunnings, which will probably be the most luxurious Bunnings in the city, I think. Sitting right here at the foreground of the Melbourne bit, the Adelaide bit, and the Sydney bit, and zooming out a little bit, you can see the Canberra area over there as well. So all that stuff behind it should have a pretty nice view. So when we were over here last time, we were actually working on the Melbourne-inspired area. So we're going to rip it all out and start again. There we go. Got that surface painter too. So first of all, let's go ahead and get the Bunnings itself down. We'll have it here. So I'm actually looking at one that's kind of on the outskirts of Canberra, in another suburb called Belconnen, I think it's called, if I'm pronouncing that right. It sounds like I'm pronouncing it wrong, but either way, there's Google Earth shots up of what we're looking at today. So let's have our Bunnings, and I definitely want the front facing the water, I think. So we'll have it over here. Now we are on slight terrain differences, but we'll be okay. I think we'll be able to set our heights down to correct any awkwardness that we generate. I want to leave some space around the Bunnings for some detailing. So why don't we have it about there, I reckon. Have we got those delivery sheds on the side? It's kind of hard to tell, isn't it, in that sun? Those black shadows are super dark. Yeah, so we've got some delivery space detail in there, so let's nudge it up a little bit. Something like that. It's going to take quite a bit of a centre stage in the Skyline configuration itself, isn't it? But a very Aussie addition into the Skyline anyway. I think I'm happy with that. We'll leave ourselves room out here for some detailing. So we'll configure some car parks out the front of this as well. We'll go over some of the old faithful parking lot roads. So we did have an exit coming out of here, and I reckon it would be a good idea to bring it out from this way, wouldn't it? Let's bring it down. Now we've also got this road here as well that does come out of our botanical garden, which you guys, if you're not keeping up with our Thessia live streams, you probably wouldn't have seen. So I think what we will do while we're over here is just take a little look at it, because not many of you would have seen it. But it's over here. There's a little fish and bar grill over this way. Repurpose the botanical garden with some detailing. There's a little Ilos kind of plant garden here. It's really cool. And then we had all these little planters with different sorts of plants in them, because it's a sort of a botanical garden, isn't it? Little information signs on what exactly that tree is. We did some stage detailing using a sub building from the Central Park asset itself. Jerry and Mitch are here as well, watching a show with another Mitch and a bin chicken and a crocodile, and a bear is over. It's over there too. And there's a little Japanese inspired garden over here as well. But don't forget to come hang out in our Thessia streams, and also you can watch the VODs back as well. They're all on the channel for you to enjoy. Fantastic. But that does give access into this road for the botanical garden, and then we'll use this one here to bring in our car parking configuration. So I want a road running right out the middle of the Bunnings, and we'll bring it down for 16 units or so. And then we'll run them in units of 8, I think, either side. Now that should be enough for us, I think. Let's also do sort of spacing we're playing with there. 4 units. I think that should be okay. Maybe want to go for poorly maintained here. I think we will actually. I just prefer that slightly more parched look. Looks a little bit more kind of baked in the sun, doesn't it? Which is always appropriate for the Aussie build. And then we'll have this one come up here. And this thing can now connect into that parking lot service road with a little road guideline and a curve tool like that. We'll also grab all of these nodes as well, because we are on a little bit of a height difference here. I'll make sure we're on the same playing field, otherwise placing the parking spots themselves is going to be a bit of a nightmare. And then while we're here, we will also bring in that key, well, which is the regular seawall one, isn't it? So let's line this up first of all with our keys. Send them that way. And then of course with the addition of these keys, it should give us a really nice cohesive waterfront back up to the water suburb that we built a while ago. Over this way. Let's terraform away any land that's poking above the waterline. That should be okay, I reckon. I did also have walking pathways coming through here too. Definitely don't want to disturb those. Let's have them come into this way, and then also back from this way with the key too. Still have grid snapping while we're near a key. It never likes it, does it? And broke any connections where it makes sense. We'll also tie up the end of our car parks here as well. I wouldn't mind why we do have a connection there. Is that one we want to make? Yeah, I think we can do. Definitely think some much more lush green belt to be had out here with some detailing. Perhaps even worth cracking open the key here and allowing a little lake, sort of lagoon to come in, maybe. Sort of break up the shoreline a little bit. We'll see what happens in the time lapse. So how are we sitting now? Behind the Bunnings, I think I'm pretty happy with this. What we can also see next door to the Bunnings outside of Canberra is what looks to be self-storage units, which I've never tried before in cities, and I reckon some of the industrial evolution assets would lend themselves very nicely to functioning as kind of like a self-storage shed. Why don't we see if we can dig one out? So no smokestacks or anything. It's not what the vibe we want. That itself looks a little bit self-storagey, doesn't it? As does that one. Absolutely love this pack. If you haven't got Avandia's Industrial Evolution, it's fantastic. It's really, really nice. Oh, I can't decide which one I want to use. I think these ones, the smaller ones with the 3 doors in the front, look a little more self-storagey to me, I think. Why don't we go with one of those? So we will use that asset then to remove the other ones from the equation. As we have downloaded some new roads that we haven't used before. So these are pavement roads, so these are just basically flat texture that allow us to, you know, not have a road surface, because that's kind of what it looks like in this self-storage unit, to be honest. So I reckon off the side of the Bunnings, we will have a little self-storage unit. So let's bring in our parking lot service road. We'll bring this down, and then we'll use this. Actually, no. Let's use the new ones. So come on to angle. So we'll have this here. So this is going to blend much more cohesively with our surface painter, which will be very much appreciated. So we'll send this one down here to do some Bunnings delivery detailing, which we'll do in the time lapse. And then this one I want to come out to the left. And then we'll configure some sort of self-storage pattern around here using this asset. Let's bring him over. We'll spin him around. Of course, we could reco these as well if we don't want them to function as industry. Because it is going to attract a lot of trucks. So I might end up recoing this asset into residential, actually. I guess so. We'll have to wait and see, won't we? So then, with one of them in, if we were to duplicate it up, use it together at the back with the old move it. How do we feel about that as kind of like one self-storage unit? think I actually want to duplicate up the whole block to the left as well. I think I just want some more of those doors. That's what really screams self-storage, isn't it? Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. And then we'll do a road around the side. We'll use some of our concrete brush to tidy up any inconsistencies with the textures. That should be good enough, I think. I think we can have that as a self-storage unit, and then we'll wrap it with loads of fencing and make it look pretty fancy, but that should be a pretty convincing aesthetic. Having mentioned that, I think we do want to reco it, don't we? Let's add a local save. We will go to residential. So the last time I recoded, someone actually mentioned that we were putting in too many households, which we absolutely were. So we'll make it low density. Do level 2. Not using realistic population mod, and let's do 3 people. Line save changes, yeah, so we'll get 3 households rather, so that should be enough people, we hope. We'll see anyway, we'll see any people not living here. But it should at least make the self-storage units look a little bit active, like, you know, they're sort of having people come and go from them, which will be pretty cool. With that pattern in mind, let's duplicate it up. So we don't have to duplicate this, do we? Let's just do mirror objects opposite the segment. That way we know that we're perfectly equidistant. Move it up so we don't have to do the surface painter or the brush tools. And then we can finish off this pattern here. So that should sit pretty nice next to the Bunnings. In terms of the fencing we want to use around here, I reckon some suburban fence will do a job for us. Bring in a little section of this and see how we feel about it. Fencing is always a crucial part of the build, of course. Something like that. How do we feel about this from the street level? Yeah, I'm on board with that. I like that. Cool, so we'll develop that template in our detail time-lapse. That's going to be quite a lot of fun, I think. We of course need to make room. Now I can see this asset already has one on the front, doesn't it? Yeah. So we've already got the sausage sizzle right on the front. We can get this as a separate prop, but if it's already on the front there, then we might as well save it. There's also the little garden centre over here as well. Are we on the surface painter axis here? Oh, we're not far off of it. Yeah, I think we'll make a little garden centre out the side of the Bunnings here. Get some prop plants down in there and whatnot, little planters and stuff. Should be able to make a pretty convincing garden centre. And then that takes us up to current existing infrastructure, where we're arriving over here. So noticing we do have cycle lanes here, don't we? So this actually comes out from all the way down the suburb, doesn't it? There's not too many people utilising it. There's definitely more people walking, which isn't a bad thing, but if we are having cycle lanes here, then it's going to make sense to keep that infrastructure going, isn't it? How far down can we take it before it changes? Oh, it also starts over here as well, doesn't it? With the this cycling infrastructure. Do we have bus and cycling roads? I don't think we do we? We do, but it also comes with a tram. Which I know that because we used that literally last episode, didn't we? Okay, we'll just do 4-lane cycling then. We'll just extend the infrastructure around the other side of the bay. We're going to go for trees as well. Do you want trees down this road? It is quite a nice one. There's already a few trees around here. No, let's just go for grass median. Keep it a slightly nicer road. There we go. That way this should hopefully entice a few more people. We got some IMT done here as well in the time lapse to hopefully entice some more people cycling up the suburb to keep cycling into the inner city. Even though they are hitting bus and metro around here too, so we'll wait and see how that goes. I've noticed there's also people coming into the Bunnings delivery area, but that is a nice frame for one of today's builds anyway. So let's pop on over to the hillside now. I do want to do some suburban. Actually, no, we'll stop and do this first. There's a little space here that was never developed. I reckon it's going to be a nice place for a statue of some kind. We've got a couple of options available to us. One of the plaza ones would be ideal. We want shopping, wealth, or industry. I guess Thessia isn't particularly known for its industry, is it? It's more known for its booze over anything else. With the brewery, the distillery, and the vineyards. That is quite a dominant one, isn't it? That statue of industry. It's maybe a little bit too much of what I was after. I was trying to get a sense of scale of it around the rest of the city. I really love this park, by the way. We definitely need a first-person Thessia walking tour now, don't we? I think the downtown is ready for that, isn't it? That first-person tour. Taken so long to construct, of course. But yeah, I like that one. There's also the statue of shopping, which is a little more tame, which I think I'm more inclined to use. It's just a little more subtle. I think that statue of industry, it's almost a little bit attention-seeking, isn't it? Like it wants to be the centerpiece of the build itself. I reckon we'll go with this one. Of course, what would happen if we knock this back and then actually use one of those new pavement roads here as a connection to give it a road access? How badly does this mess up our nodes? Quite a bit. The purple one is certainly not happy. Let's push him back. Let's push green again as well. Need to do lots of IMT around here. This major road definitely wants some spice given to it, doesn't it? So we'll do that in our time lapse today as well. Finish off some IMT for this part of the city. I don't mind that. I think I'd definitely also like to go ahead and follow that up with a car ban from Traffic Manager. And public transport won't come down here. Garbage can come down to grab the garbage, obviously. Emergency services. But yeah, apart from that, just a car ban should suffice. And then there's lots of detail to be had with extended concrete surfaces. I reckon we could also get some more people in and around the plaza by using Anarchy to actually feed a path network through the asset. We did something very similar to this actually in Ilos, I believe it was. We want to make sure that we're straight here though, so it looks like it's at least cohesive, and then we can use that same brush tool there that we used earlier to fill in the space between, and then that way it kind of convinces us that it's all one giant super space, because this is something that's so important for me in cities. Is obviously the Sims, they're always stuck to a network, they have to walk across somewhere, but that's not what would happen in real life. They would, you know, like you see a desire line develop sometimes. So I played Foundation, prime example of what I'm talking about. You know, like someone here, they wanted to get across the road, they wouldn't walk all the way around the edge, they'd cut across. And I feel like that's something that brings a lot of realism to city skylines for me, I think. But I think that's a nice space filler, isn't it? It'll also draw some Sims into it as well, and again, lots of detail to be had here. A little bit later on in the episode, of course, tons of IMT to do as well. I didn't realise how much we had to do through here today. And then to continue satisfying some of that residential demand, I'd also like to move over here and also sketch out some road frames, because I'd like some residential up this way. Using the pretty nice residential assets, pretty similar to what we used over in Benezia's kind of mansions, if you remember that build. I really do like this part of the city. I love all the networks around here. It's a very cool place to come and watch all the traffic flow around Thessia's downtown this little bit. Shame we don't spend much time over here anymore, of course. That's kind of the shame, you know, like we put so much love and effort into these builds and then we don't usually see them again until the farewell cinematics, do we? It's a little bit of a shame. But let's actually have a look how steep this terrain is first of all, because I imagine we're going to be playing with some pretty gnarly heights here. Yeah, it's insane, isn't it? It is insane. But let's sketch out some initial road frames, because I would like some suburbia out here. Do we want it here, this close to the highway? Are we encroaching noise pollution issues at all? Yeah, it is maybe a touch too loud. Then again, these low densities are in here. That tree belt will certainly be helping. But yeah, let's sketch out some little road frames here so we can get some residentials down. Do we want to join the couplet again? They do have a turnaround opportunity here, I guess. Yeah, we'll keep it there, it's fine. Cool. So that gives us some road frames around the already existing infrastructure over here. And I reckon we'll use... I think we've already got a tag set up this, haven't we? Yeah, we could use single-story homes. This is a collection of our boomer stuff. If you're also wondering how we're doing the switch with Find It, you hold Alt plus V, and it will move through a random selection of whatever your Find It filter is set up for. Very good for keeping things varied. But otherwise, I think I'm pretty happy with the gradient here. I think playing with any sort of hilly terrain is also going to have a little bit of jank about it, but I can certainly live with that. And then pretty similar to what we've got happening over here. Just sandwich housing between the dual carriageway system of Thessia to sit over here as well. Which is still flowing really nicely, isn't it? There's very little, if any, traffic at all around the entire dual carriageway system. It's been very refreshing playing Cities Skylines without a major 3-lane highway. It really changes up how you develop the city. Kind of also how we're approaching Edinburgh for those following our Cities 2 series as well. Yeah, the smaller national roads just lends to a much better playstyle in my opinion. I highly recommend it if you haven't already tried it out. But either way, this feels like a good time lapse for our detailing builds. We've got some prop work to do around the back of the Bunnings, plus all the car parking detailing. And we'll also finish off our little self-storage unit over here as well. Detail up a little plaza, a ton of IMT to do down the main road. And then also get the rest of this low density suburbia plopped in as well. But some nice additions into some very dead space that's been left empty for quite a long time in the downtown. But let's go with some detailing, and then we'll be right back. Okay guys, let's have a little detailing review, shall we? So the Bunnings sits in really nicely at the foreground of the skyline, looking at the city from the west side. Parking is all the way through here now with lots of activity in and around the Bunnings. A bit of prop work on the left hand side to replicate the garden centre that we mentioned, using gazebos and planters and a garden furniture off the workshop with a little coffee truck here as well. It's pretty cool, it's a nice little addition onto the side of the garden centre here. And then a little preview into some prop work around the back of the warehouse over there, which we'll get to in a second. Over this side of the store, we have added in some pathways and some hedges, alongside another couple of bunning sizzle stands with some crates behind them, I guess, to serve as, boxes of sausages is, is what they're serving as, I suppose. And then the pathway cuts along the store now, just to help bring... Yeah, you imagine this would definitely be a cut through between the self-storage and the Bunnings over here. We dropped in a little security gate thing here, and it actually used some fences to separate pedestrian away from traffic. Hopefully we'll see someone come through here. Nice little use of this little Japanese checkpoint thing that we've never used before. So I'm happy with that, I think it's pretty cool. And then a little office space next to it, with some parking, and then a little Coco's Outback advertising billboard around the side as well, plus some smaller crate detailing inside the self-storage unit. And what a wonderful way to fill some awkward space, repurposing with Rico some of Avanya's Industrial Evolution to serve as self-storage units. Really like this, we'll definitely see this across the city. It's a great little space filler, and many different sort of configurable patterns for it as well. Into the back of the Bunnings, where we've got some forklifts, containers, used move it, well, prop line tool to place them, and then move it to sort of just humanize the placement a little bit so it's not so rigid and in straight lines. Then we got a forklift as well here, moving some plates around, planks, sorry. And then more crates over here with a little forklift getting involved as well, before we have some trucks loading up at the area over here. And there's also Hungry Jack's over this side as well, which spills back into Greenbelt, which then merges into the build we did a couple of months ago using our water suburb here. So it really completes this stretch of the shoreline here up to the downtown now. And it's looking pretty cool. I'm really happy with how it's working. And there is some people indeed waiting for the ferries as well, which is always nice to see, isn't it? Always like to see these ferries getting some use. Of course, they go much further around the island now as well since last episode, don't they? So really happy with the whole Bunnings complex and facility. There's plenty of IMT around here as well, around the major junctions, just to keep it going, and also to keep this bike lane structure flowing as well as it goes back into the suburbia. Around this side we'll come up the main road, where we do arrive at some IMT markings before we come up to the plaza, where there has been some work done with white tiles to kind of surround the whole main bit, with park benches on it. And it's really nice. I love sort of sitting here and getting a scope of the sort of major downtown centre. It's a really cool view, isn't it, from here? You can see sort of the spires on the cathedral, sort of the three main towers, and views down the park here to the stadium. There's more great sight lines up to King's Park, which is just above us, of course. And then all the sort of health and recreational stuff we did during that major Greenbelt development episode. So nice to see that square finally get developed, just to serve as a bit of a plaza where people are now moving around. And then we'll come over this way and far away, over the cemetery and the cricket pitches, where we then arrive at some more wonderful flowing Greenbelt that now flows into this hillside suburbia that's been expanded around the couplet system, with some trees through the middle. And that one cuts over there, of course, to go back to the Golden Egg Coast where all our hotels are. And then over here we just have more of that suburbia, and that flows with a pedestrian pathway crossing the dual carriageway now, so people can make use of all the public transport connections that are over here. And then it also flows off here into the highway exit, same way the other side has a little slip road into the suburb, just to help siphon some traffic along the main connection, I think. Rather than always trying to develop kind of full-blown interchanges, I often think just some subtle slip ramps on and off the network is a much more sensible way to approach it, I think. And then we've also got a little water tower out here as well, where we do have some chain link fencing, a bit of overgrowth just around the base of the tower, as we do then fade back into the country that then goes back toward Thessia. So really nice to have some more outer line suburbia up here, and there is a great little house up here. I think it's this one, the red car in front of it. These guys have a wonderful view across the city, right? And it's really nice to see that suburban sprawl start to develop around this area. You can see the sort of political district over there and the campus, all the trains and the metro moving around here in the sort of main network corridor that goes through the downtown. It's a tremendously satisfying episode. I really enjoyed it. But otherwise, guys, that is going to do it for today. Let's thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed it, likes, comments, and shares below really do help me out. Even if you haven't enjoyed it, please feel free to leave me a dislike as well. Today's episode hasn't really been kind of a major focused build. It's sort of been filling some little awkward spaces and just building out the city. I think we'll definitely expect a few more episodes like this where we kind of do 2 or 3 different micro builds across the city rather than focusing on one major project. It's just much nicer, I think, to build out a city rather than focusing on those major projects all the time, which it feels like we do a lot in downtown Thessia. I'm really happy with today's edition. We've got a self-storage, a Bunnings, a downtown plaza, and some outer line suburbia done as well. A massive shout out, as always, to the wonderful patrons that support the channel, with a special roll call to Felix Wilkinson. If you're interested in supporting the channel, there are links down to Patreon and Instant Gaming below where you can do just that and get a variety of benefits and get involved if you so wish, but otherwise I'll shut up and leave it there. Please do enjoy today's cinematics, but I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.